Okay, today we're working on a 2003 Jeep Liberty. It is a Jeep Sport. My wife bought this vehicle, brand spanking new, just before we started dating. I can tell you for a fact that it's been very well cared for. Oil changes regularly, and pretty much every nickel and dime thing that's gone wrong gets fixed pretty quick. What we're going to address today is the rear gate. I had a lot of problems I've seen on other YouTubes addressing this problem, where once your lock actuator goes bad in your gate, that when you pull your door handle or even try to use your key fob to open your glass, sometimes your glass won't open at all. Sometimes it'll open, and then other times you cannot get your gate open, period. Before mine went bad, it made it a really horrible sound. My daughter used to laugh and said it sounded like a duck with a sore throat. Got to the point where we couldn't get the hatch open or the gate opened at all, but the window went up. So following some of the other YouTubes, it says once you can get it open, there's a little inspection hatch right here that I've already popped the cover off of. Very simply comes off. There's a little bit of insulation in there and a plastic layer that you can cut and fold back. And up inside here, which I'm going to have to get my camera up in there to give you a better angle, is the actuator. This is what most of the videos show you, is the actuator, and then you see some of these big hands stuck up in here trying to flip something to make the gate open. But with the hands in the way and some of the poor video quality, they don't quite get the job done. Me and a friend of mine spent an hour trying to figure out what move to get this thing to open. We're going to show you how to get this thing open. Just remember, this is what it looks like up in here. And you're going to see the red connector bracket. Just behind that is a white lever, and that's what you're actually trying to pull on if your gate is permanently locked. Okay, here's the lock actuator out of the swing door, or the gate that they call it. What the other videos weren't showing real clearly was right here, this little white plastic piece, and on some models it's actually yellow. This is the lever that you're supposed to trip one way or the other. In my particular case, after it locked up, this was stuck so badly when you grabbed a hold of it with your finger, it wouldn't travel either way and allow you to manually unlock it. So I actually used a brake tool that looks like one of your bent screwdrivers to reach in, because it's very narrow space, and to pry that open to a place where I could actually use the handle to pop the gate and then make the repair. Bring it in, and I've actually already disassembled it somewhat, because to buy this part you cannot find an aftermarket part for your swing gate. The lock actuator, you have to go to Mopar and get an OEM replacement part. Oddly enough, literally hours before this particular part went bad, my left rear passenger door, the lock on it failed, and I was able to find an aftermarket through Dorman, D-O-R-M-A-N, which is a reliable aftermarket parts company, and find the lock assembly pretty readily and somewhat inexpensive. I think it was like $65 plus a little shipping, and I had an entirely new actuator that I got to put in the left rear door. All four of your compartment or your passenger doors are available aftermarket. For whatever reason, your gate door does not have an aftermarket part, so you have to go through OEM. The OEMs, if you're looking at them, are around 170 to 180 bucks, maybe even more after shipping. I was able to find one on eBay, brand new, for considerably less, but it was still over $125 after shipping for the OEM. What I did realize, having had to change two of these in the same week, was that if you use the left rear door actuator, for those that get a little confused, that's the driver's side rear passenger door lock assembly. Here's the plate that comes off of that. So if you're pressed for money and you're a little creative, you can buy a left rear passenger door lock assembly, and then just take this part off and replace it with this part. These are the exact same plates. So this being out of my gate, I could have easily purchased the left rear door actuator, pulled this off with the 2 screws in the front of it, which are right there, that holds it all together, and then taking my lever and whatnot and just simply pulled it off my old part and put it on there, and there you've saved 50-60 bucks. If you're really in a pinch, and this shows the sector gears that run it off of an electronic motor behind here, and it's all connected together. I broke this thing apart ahead of time. There's actually a spring that sits in here. It's kind of a pain to get back. So if you're in a place where you're being creative and replacing some of these parts, you may want to take your plate off, take a picture with your cell phone, and then continue disassembling. But there's really not much to them. If you're really in a pinch, you can't find another replacement part, or you're just in a hurry, if you look right here, there's a seam, and of course I used a hammer because I really didn't have anything to save or gain, but you can break these apart pretty easily. And if you get this top part off here, this shows you the electric motor that runs the whole thing with your contacts here. There's 2 screws that I've already removed that hold this plate in, and it's all held together with pressed rivets and ends. There's no snap rings or anything that hold it together. Problem being on this, and I think you can, if I can get a good picture of it, right there, you can see where that's worn flat, and it won't run through that worm gear. So once it's worn flat, it gets hung up in this worm gear, and that's what shuts down the whole thing. Now, for those who've got kids, and I've had a few of my own, if they like to play with the door locks, that's what wears them out, is sitting there flinging the doors back and forth. I thought about, if you could get it apart easily, just moving this this gear 3/4 turn or a half turn to where it wouldn't be on that spot anymore. But the way that it's all riveted together, it's near impossible, and I kind of learned that lesson off the first one. So my recommendation here is, if you're going to try to get creative with it and try to fix those flat spots, use a triangular file, or if you've got a real fine, like a modeling saw, that you can maybe get in there and clean those teeth up, where they'll run through this worm gear a little smoother, because right there you can get it hung, and you can see how the gear is flattened out, and it gets hung in there, and it stops the whole assembly. So hope this helps you a little more than some of the other videos. I appreciate the guys that took the time to post the other videos, because I wouldn't have gotten near this far if it wasn't for their help. But I want to take a minute in my time and try to build on that for the shade tree mechanics out there like myself that just don't have the money to run to a dealer and hope that they can get it done at a reasonable price in a reasonable amount of time. Have a good day and be safe out there.